It's finally time. It's time to release the Los Angeles series. I know it's been something I've been kind of hyping up for a while, and I really wanted to wait until I got the Los Angeles trip vlog kind of video out before I really kind of hunkered down and really made this kind of a featured thing. And also I was sick when I first came back from California, so I was sick for about a week after returning, so it's kind of why the video was a little bit more delayed than usual. Starting off, of course, everyone's favorite, one that gets talked about quite a bit, is the miniature SD10. This is the revised version. This is the complete version now. This is the one that I've kind of spent my time and actually have gotten it to really to where I want it to be. Kind of as opposed to my original SD10, which everyone has now seen both in the Los Angeles video and also in a very, very old video on my channel. But there it is, 912, of course. The little federal sign and signal tag, of course included on all of my modern models now. And sitting atop the pole. The pole being a separate item. This will be sold separately in the shop. However, the option to have this siren installed on a pole is something that you can actually do yourself. However, if you do not want to purchase the pole, you don't have to. But with all of these sirens that are going to be shipped, they will all ship included with a little mounting stud. So this little mounting stud is a separate item which you will have to install yourself. Just letting you know that now. I can't really sell two different types of models, one that has a stud and one that doesn't. It'd be easier and much more effective for people to just kind of glue this on themselves. So all of the models will ship completely bare on the bottom. There won't be any stud there. And essentially all you have to do is take the stud that comes with your model, take a little dab of super glue, and dab it on the end of the stud with the flat portion. That's the top, the bigger version, the bigger portion of it, facing towards the underneath of the siren. And then just glue it on there, hold it for a couple seconds until it's sturdy and secure. But again, the poles will be sold separately. Those will be included in the shop, and you can see them in the description down below if you would like to purchase one of these for yourself. But I'll go ahead and give the model SD10 a little wind up. This one is a little high-pitched for some reason. I think this is actually just the one that I hadn't tuned properly yet. Now, one of the things which I don't believe I've made readily apparent about this type of pole is that if you have different sirens that are within the Los Angeles series, you actually, if you have that little stud installed, can remove the entire siren off the pole, and you can instead install a different siren. So in this case, this is a flattened Mach 7, and it does the exact same thing. It slides right on top of the pole just like that. And now the model has changed. So with one pole, you can make a diorama consisting of different types of sirens for your own recording, or if you want to have these model sirens placed in, say, your backyard. And I'm getting to that. But that leads on to the segue. This is the flattened Mach 7, one of the more rarer sirens to be seen in Los Angeles County. This one, of course, is 912, as are all the sirens in Los Angeles. Much quieter than the SD10, as it does have a smaller rotor and stator. And another thing that is notable with this siren is that unlike the later version 7Ts, which have a little cross member that allows this shroud to stay locked onto the siren, due to the design constraints of this does not have that little cross arm. So the shroud sits loosely atop the siren itself. However, it is held steadily in place by the fact that the whole thing is cylindrical and it just wants to slot together. So let's go ahead and sound this one off. Significantly quieter than the SD10. And of course, as with all of the sirens displayed so far, they are all USB powered. All of my sirens require at least 1 amp of USB power in order to operate, so 1 amp at 5 volts, and you should have absolutely no problems with powering these sirens. In my case, I'm actually powering it with just a cheap little power bank. Moving on to some of the other sirens. Here we have a Model 7 with the included Federal Sign and Signal tag and motor service door. As with the red fire service version of this siren, the fire service colored version of the siren, the entire shroud is removable in the exact same way it is removed on the real one. And of course, it being a 7T, this is 912. And I'll let you hear what this one sounds like. And of course, last but certainly not least, the one that I believe most people here were anticipating the most. Here is the Model 500 SHTT, which is completely functional, completely rotating, in the same scale as all of the other sirens. The gray base is included, as is the support peg, as with all the other sirens. One thing I would like to note about this, about the Model 500, the really small one, is that this is using a geared rotator, so it is imperative that you don't force the siren to rotate. If you want the siren to rotate, it is very, very crucial that you rotate it by simply giving it power and getting it to spin around, and that's the only way you're going to get to rotate. If you try doing it any other way, you really run the risk of breaking the rotator. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is that the rotator, due to the design and the size constraints, is fragile. So I'd be very careful to not let this get knocked around, not let this fall over. Be very careful about this siren. This one specifically, because there's a lot of very sensitive components in there to get it to actually rotate properly. But yeah. So let's go ahead and hear what this one sounds like. This is, of course, 912, as are all of the sirens that are in this series. So we'll go ahead and power this one up. This is also USB powered. And one of the things you might notice is that when power is cut to the siren, the head does continue to rotate, at least for a little bit, due to a new design. I just dumped it right off the top. The pole will come pre-detailed, so it'll have the insulators already connected, as well as all of the individual little foot pegs, as well as the basket itself with the service cabinet. One thing I would like to make apparent is that these foot pegs are very fragile, just as the sirens are themselves. They are made of plastic after all. But these foot pegs are fragile, so be very careful to not have something get caught on these, which can risk snapping them off, as they are glued to the pole themselves. Now, the pole will arrive in sections. It'll arrive in 5 separate sections. The top basket portion being one of them, already pre-glued and everything. And as you can see, there's actually a seam there, a seam there, a seam there, and then the whole pole itself actually just slips into the bottom base. The base will come essentially as you see it here, with just a little hole in the center of it, for the pole to actually slip down inside of. And that hole is there in case you want to secure the actual base itself onto, like, say, a piece of wood. Like, this is a round wooden base that you can purchase at something like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. It doesn't really matter. But that hole is in the center so that it will facilitate a screw to hold the plastic base onto a much larger base. The siren itself, the siren and pole will not stand up due to its height with just the actual base piece alone. So that's something you need to keep in consideration. However, one of the options I do believe I'm going to be putting onto the Etsy store soon is actually a spiked base. So this base is essentially a big plastic spike that you can actually use to take and put in your garden if you wish to have the siren as more of a kind of a lawn ornament, possibly. That allows you to actually take the entire siren pole and stick it down into the ground. With reasonably soft soil conditions. This is by no means going to effectively pierce really, really rocky soil or really, really root-bound soil. So it's something just to kind of consider. This is, in this case, a bit of a planting bed that's got reasonably loose soil, which allows you to actually take the entire base for the siren and shove it down, and then take the pole and stick that inside. So the entire thing can then freestand, which gives people the option to essentially have this as lawn art, which I think is kind of a cool little idea. So then these sirens can actually be placed in a yard on display. I don't know, a simple idea. And of course, I do believe that the cord is long enough that if this was to be placed, I don't know, for example, outside of a first floor window, that you actually could take the cord and run the cord inside the window onto your desk if you wanted this to be kind of a siren that actually does stay outside, and left out to kind of be a display siren. But yeah, of course, use your best judgment when it comes to placement of the siren itself. If it's placed in a very windy location, this base may be susceptible to wobbling itself loose and eventually toppling over. So, of course, use your best judgment, please. And for those who never really got the opportunity to see, here is how tall the entire thing stands once it is on the pole with the siren on top. It's pretty tall. It's a pretty tall siren. I'd say the entire thing together is probably about 4 feet tall. Probably maybe, yeah, about 4 feet tall, I'd say, when it's all assembled. But yeah. Prices, of course, will be down below. And a link to my Etsy shop will also be down below in the description. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope everyone gets some real enjoyment out of this, and really has as much fun with it as I did. Now, I hope to, in the future, eventually go on to make Scream Masters and some of the more unique sirens around Los Angeles and the California area in general. Maybe even the other style baskets, rather than just the more common Los Angeles, the later variant of the basket that's more popular around the city. So you might see some come out that are actually the round baskets, some of them that are the low profile baskets, which if you've seen the siren video, the Los Angeles siren vlog, you'll see one of those baskets in there. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.